Welcome to the Couple-preneurs Show, helping couples in business develop structure and strategies that nurture the balance between business and home, bringing you interviews and insights to give you the secret sauce of power couples. Here are your hosts, Oscar and Kaya Frazier.
Couple-preneurs, entrepreneurs, those that are in business, those thinking about getting into business. If any of these things sound remotely like you, you're in the right place. So today I'm super excited to have a conversation that I think is well overdue, and it's going to be around, affordable housing and making sure that, cities and communities are being cognizant of building the right levels of community and sometimes the impact on sometimes people coming into the community that don't have, the best interest at hand. But before I do that, let me turn everything over to Kaya. She can walk us through our sponsors.
That's right. So today we have Talk Shirt to Me. They have all those nice, cool shirts that have the slogans on them that you love. If you see somebody walking down the street and you see them and they have a slogan on their shirt and you're like, wow, I wish I had one of those, then this is definitely the company for you. Go out and check them out at talkshirttome.com. And then we also have Carolina Runners. They're a family-owned and operated trucking company. And if you are an owner-operator out there looking for an authority, please make sure that you check them out. They're at Carolina-runners.com.
All right, almost had it all the way.
Yeah, got the dash.
All right, so let me tell everyone a quick story that I think is near and dear to a lot of us. As people that live in either large cities or potentially urban cities, etc. One of the things that we notice is that you'll see affordable housing scenarios that may come up in your neighborhoods or in or around your neighborhood. Now, these can be highly beneficial in some cases. And then there's also some cases where you may end up with some of us may know it's like slumlords, or we've all probably seen the movie before, Slumlords About Millionaires. We've seen sometimes the negative impact of having those sorts of scenarios come up into various neighborhoods. However, there are organizations such as Apartments Near Me, which we're about to introduce the owner of that in just a moment, who has looked at finding ways to offer affordable housing, but still taking care of the community of which it stands. So without further ado, let me introduce to all of you Mr. Adam. Adam, how's everything going today, sir?
Hey, how are you, man?
Great, man. Well, we really appreciate you having you on the show and excited to dive right in. So before we start asking you a bunch of questions and such, if you can, walk us through, your organization, Apartments Near Me, and, how you got it going and what was the real motivation behind it?
So we started over here in Memphis, Tennessee about 4 years ago, 4.5, 5 years ago. And we started, just like a mom and pop shop. Just one complex that was a little bit blighted, and we went inside and started to renovate it. Didn't know much about the business. It was just the numbers made sense. It was an opportunity on the numbers and the paper, and we just went with it. And now after we started doing that, we understand that the whole situation in Memphis and in the country is that there is, let's put it that way, there is no new development of affordable housing, right?
Oh.
Like if you're talking about the cost of building a place grounds up,
Right.
So the whole development, it doesn't make sense to make it affordable. On the supply side, you have a problem. You're trying eventually to get investors, okay, to invest in real estate, in equity in general, that is high risk and low yield, and make it still in a way that the community can be proud.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. This is what Apartments Near Me is all about. So as I said, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we started with 300 apartments, and we're about to close another property which is going to put us on 1,600.
That is outstanding, man. Wow, very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah. Yep. So talk to us a little bit more. So I think you're touching on a really, really relevant topic, And that's around the affordable housing, how you're saying that it doesn't really benefit them to make it affordable. And for the people that live in that community, like what happens to those people, right? So like let's lay out a good example. So here in Atlanta, there's a lot of areas that are either being, going through gentrification, or there's some different scenarios where they're trying to maybe change the overall appearance of the community. And so from your perspective, when it comes to affordable housing, are those two things do they coincide, or are they very different? I'd love to learn more about that from you.
So I think in affordable housing, like in every industry, if you continue doing the same thing as the before you people did, then it's going to be the same.
Right.
So meaning, if you're thinking, am I going to change the fridge and going to put a new one, or I'm going to buy something secondhand? Am I going to clear the grounds and make sure they're going to be taken care of, or am I not? How much I need to invest in every section? And then you're going to look on the return and you're going to say, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense as an investment. So, like in every industry, and it's not something that's specific to real estate, sometimes you just need to take two steps back, think for a second about the whole system, and ask yourself, can we do it more efficient? And once you're going to ask that question, you're going to be surprised what you can do, even in this ancient industry that is just not optimized.
It makes a lot of sense. So when it comes to like the impacts on communities for like undermanaged apartments, like what's been your observations with that?
I'm going to give you a perfect example. How many times you walk inside a leasing office and seen bunch of people working in that office, and you ask yourself what all of them doing all day long?
Yeah.
How many times you went inside an apartment complex and seen 5-6 people working in the office, and you say, why are they here? What are they doing all day long? You're talking with one person out of all the 6. What are they doing? Right? If you're in maintenance, you need to be outside doing maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Right. If you're dealing with the inventory, you need to be all the time on the phone and make sure you're getting the inventory. Okay. If you lease in the apartment, then you need to sign leases. But what you do in your downtime when you're not doing that? So if you're a maintenance manager, you can also doing the materials, right? So you can be in the field and at the end of the day closing on getting the material. If you're a leasing agent, then you can do the leasing and the advertisement and the application and all of that. So you already cut out 2, right?
Yeah.
So, and let me ask you another question. Why a manager need an assistant manager and a secretary to run an apartment complex?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense from the efficiency perspective. I mean, people that are listening that are in the affordable housing, or perhaps they own, various, apartment complexes or duplexes, etc. I think that it's important to listen to what Adam is outlining here. That there's that matter of efficiency that I think people can realize just by looking at their overhead and looking at their head count and making sure that everyone that's there is working as efficiently as possible, so you don't end up with too many people and not enough work, essentially.
In affordable housing, it's like a mistake that a lot of people, I'm going to call newbies, with just trying in the market or trying something new, that buying a second house is an investment, right? They're looking on the mortgage, they're looking on the numbers, they say, I'm going to collect X amount of rent, this is how much everything going to cost me, I'm going to make Y amount of profit. And then guess what happened? The house is vacant for about a month, okay, they lost an income. The HVAC system, the AC system stopped working, they lost another month of income, they have a leak in the roof, another month of income, right? And at the end of the day, they start not really making a profit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other part, there is the community needs, which is very, very important, okay? Because if you want to grow, and if you want to create a name for yourself, and you want to create a brand, you always need to think, what action am I taking now to save money or to increase the profits, but without damaging the brand and eventually the community. And that is a very delicate balance. Very delicate.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, and I guess just an hour, and from my lens, I've seen people that do exactly what you just said. I mean, they'll go out, they'll have some money, and they'll buy 3 or 4 houses, and to your point, I think they just kind of make the assumption that the money is just going to come in, and they forget about all the other management components of that. So, question for you: so, like with apartments near me. If a person owns a property, could they come to your company, or is that something where you guys pretty much go out and you do your own investing and you have your own properties and you do it that way? Like, how does it work with you all?
So we're working in few different directions. Some of them are more advertised, and some of them is more word of mouth and in the back end. So right up front, we own and managing our own real estate. That's straightforward. In addition, we have a department that's dealing with consulting and helping other real estate developers and managers in the affordable housing to do it better. And we also, we're trying to help Memphis, because this is our market, basically, to do it better with the city, and we're working with code enforcement and other stakeholders in the city, key holders in the city, to try to make stuff better. We tried to take a complex that is blighted, that was actually supposed to go for demolition completely, and right now we're checking if maybe it's possible for us to take over and not doing a demolition, actually bring back another 500 apartments to the market, which is every other developer that checked that deal with the city said it's not financially stable, we cannot do that, it's not profitable. And we're not sure that this is correct.
Yeah. So question for you. In that same kind of scenario, let's say that if another investor sees it and they just want to try to just knock it down, is the impact then that now you just lost all of these homes for people that could have potentially moved into an affordable housing scenario? So now they're kind of left to kind of fend for themselves. Is that kind of what you all are observing?
Think about what's going on right now. I started the conversation by we're not building new affordable housing because it's impossible. If right. There is no grants in place, no developer going to do that. Mm-hmm. So just based on that, think that the lower tier of housing is vanishing over time. Mm. Because if it's going to be mismanaged, you're going to lose apartments, it's going to go to demolition. If the crime rate is going to go up, the city going to close the place, going to go to demolition. If you're not taking care of the pest control and the rats and all of that, the code enforcement is going to come in and going to close your complex. So all of those things going to lead up to less and less supply of affordable housing. Yeah. And eventually it's going to hurt the families that need those housing to provide roof for their kids.
Yeah. That's a very real right. statement. You end up with a lot of homelessness and people being negatively impacted because if they can't afford, if they don't have any place that they can afford to live, the only other option is for them to either move or to be homeless, right?
Or to maximize the pocket, and then you're hurting the kids, and the kid is our future.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Very, 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 very relevant conversation here. Very relevant topic. So when it comes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying if you look on Memphis market, for example, most of the households are single family mother with more than 2 kids. That's most of Memphis.
Yeah.
Now, if they maximizing the pocket, it's meaning that those kids not going to get new clothes, computers, books, toys, games, and everything they need to be creative and invest in their future. So by doing that, we're hurting ourselves. Because our kids going to grow up in the same situation, but in a very bad environment because we didn't invest in our future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it's all tied in together, but it's so true. It's so true.
So I wonder, what steps can be taken to begin to solve some of this? And I know that the problem is so wide-reaching, but I'm just... what can be done? Is there anything that can be done in some of the larger cities right now?
So every city, from my understanding, from what we've seen, have programs set in place for real estate owners that deal with affordable housing. if it's from tax credit and pilot programs and other different grants that they're receiving for renovation and for keeping rent in certain levels and to only approve certain amount of incomes for the lower tier. So every city have those programs, right? Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you that. If a developer coming and say, I want to buy a complex, 100 units, 200 units, whatever, and he apply for this program, I'm betting that 99% chance he's gonna be approved in that program. Mm-hmm. You're gonna hire a lawyer and gonna do that. None of them coming with credentials and showing that they already done real estate, and they already done that, and they're gonna be able to succeed in the affordable housing. You already started the conversation by saying the affordable housing is a high risk, low yield.
Yeah.
So if you getting the program, getting the money, created equity out of nothing, and not investing in the community that you actually need to take care of, then we're hurting everything. So in my opinion, my personal opinion, before approving new programs or giving programs to new developers, they need to show a track record of success in that business.
Yeah. I can see a lot of value in that, and to your point, so something's high risk and low yield. It's just you have to ask yourself what's the incentive then, right? For the builder or for the real estate investor, if they're going to take on all the risk and end up in a situation where they may lose, in the end.
Yeah, and then everybody lose because you don't have the housing, you don't have the apartment in the market, and everybody lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to continue a dialogue like this, at some point, and maybe getting a few other people that's on, or maybe like one group podcast, because we've talked to some other real estate investors, and my sister, she's actually a real estate investor in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I know that she's experienced some of the very same things, that you're talking about, because so here's the risk in all this, right? So you kind of have two sides. You have the side of like the real estate investor that is strictly about profitability and money. So he doesn't see really much value in really going into the affordable housing market if he's not going to be like flip it, if he can't like get in and get out. And then you have the person who actually cares on the other side. That's kind of like, well, what about the community and building the individual's futures and making sure that we're not just, throwing people left and right and kicking them out of their homes. So that's a constant battle. And then adding on top of that the actual, though the demand may be high, the supply is starting to get impacted. Mm-hmm. So how do we fix this? I mean, that's a huge topic right there.
I don't think that we as the business people are going to be able to fix the supply problem per se. Yeah. I think it's something that it's an action item that's supposed to happen by the politicians.
Yeah.
But our job is not to abuse the system.
Yeah.
Our job is to make our best to find that delicate balance and keep the housing affordable. Because here's another. How many times you've seen an apartment complex that was affordable, but then a new investor come in and then the rent skyrocket up?
Oh yeah,
it happens.
We've seen it here in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah.
We've definitely seen it here.
It absolutely happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I think also the city needs to define spaces that are going to be zone restricted, or kind of like start thinking about that future, because again, new builders not going to be affordable.
Yep. We're seeing it. We're seeing it here in Atlanta. I mean, places that before people may have only had to pay, let's say, maybe $1,000 or so for a pretty decent apartment. Now those are $2,000 and up. Yes. You know what I mean? And it almost happened almost overnight. It happened so fast that people they're not able to even adjust or adapt to that. Because if you're not bringing in the jobs to really increase the revenue, to increase the household income, then you really are dead in the water at that point. I mean, very, very, very relevant topics here. Very relevant.
Yeah, and the ones that are affordable usually have high crime rates because the property not investing in security. They don't have security guards, and the gate's probably not working, the access gate. So you have this problem. So we need to be somewhere in the middle.
That's right. Yeah. I think we need to have this dialogue again. So folks that want to get in contact with you, Adam. I know we've got your website link, we've got your LinkedIn, your Facebook, and your Instagram. Are those the best ways for them to get in contact with you to learn more about what it is that your company does and how to get in contact?
Yeah, they're going to go to apartmentsnearme.biz, and from there they're going to find all the material. We have an amazing blog that's talking about all of these things. This blog is also good for renters if they want to do better and find how to find the best affordable apartments in their location, and how to avoid scams and different deals and out-of-pocket expenses, and how to do these things in the smartest way to give a better future for the family. So we have this information as well, how to pass a background check if you have a felony, how to rent an apartment even if you have a bad credit. All this information we have all the tricks. We're giving that for free because we want people to do better. And I think it's also going to come from them. If they're going to know how to do it better, the investor going to have to do it better.
This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal information. And Adam, hats off to you and your firm. Something like this is sorely needed, even here in Atlanta. I mean, we need stuff like this. And I think we need to have more people that like yourself that's willing to take something like this head on.
Nationwide.
And not being afraid to give those kind of hints and those tricks, so people can get a roof over their head and be able to raise their children. Yeah. So Adam, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely be hitting you back up sometime in 2022 to get you back on the show.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
All right, yes, sir.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Couple-preneurs Show. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.kothoughtleaders.com.